When my brother announced baby number 5, my parents cheered. Dad beamed. Great job, son. Then Mom glanced at me. You'll handle the kids? I said, absolutely not. My sister-in-law snapped, you have no family. This is your training. I left without another word. The next morning, the police called. Hello, ma'am. This is Officer Daniels. Someone has... He stopped like he hated finishing the sentence. Someone has left 3 children outside your townhouse with overnight bags and your address written on their school emergency cards. My coffee maker was still dripping. I was barefoot in my kitchen, holding the counter with one hand because my knees had gone soft. I said, no, I did not agree to that. Officer Daniels asked if I knew Jessica Morgan, my mother. Then Michael and Karen Morgan, my brother and his wife. Yes, I said, but I did not agree to take their children. The children are safe here. He told me, your neighbor brought them into the lobby and called us. But the oldest has a caregiver card naming you as weekend household contact. That word landed wrong. Household. The night before, Michael had stood in my parents' living room with Karen's hand tucked under his arm, grinning while everyone clapped. Dad hugged him. Mom cried. Karen looked at me like she already knew I would be assigned the hard part. Then Mom said it. You'll handle the kids. Not help, not talk, handle. When I said no, Karen smiled with all her teeth and said, you have no family? This is your training. Nobody corrected her. They just looked away, as if my life was a blank page they were embarrassed to read. By sunrise, my family had sent the children to my door. My townhouse was the first thing I had ever owned. It had a narrow porch, a squeaky screen door, and one red-tagged spare key I had given Mom years earlier for emergencies. I had changed the locks after Michael used my garage without asking. No one knew the old key no longer worked. That was the only reason the kids had not walked in alone. When I pulled up, a police car sat by the curb. My neighbor, Belsota, Mrs. Alvarez, stood in the lobby with her arms crossed. Ella ran to me, then stopped like she was afraid she had done something wrong. Oliver clutched a pillow. Mason held a plastic dinosaur so tightly his knuckles were pale. I crouched in front of them. You are not in trouble, Ella whispered. Grandma said you wanted us. Officer Daniels heard it. So did Mrs. Alvarez. On the lobby table sat a yellow folder. My name was written across the front in thick marker. Auntie Weekend Plan. Inside were allergy notes, a typed schedule, emergency cards, and a school form, naming me as approved caregiver, transportation contact, and secondary household adult. My signature sat at the bottom. Only it was not mine. It looked like a careful copy from someone who had seen my name on birthday cards and thought a few loops were enough. Officer Daniels asked, did you sign this? No. Did you give permission for your address to be used? No. Do you want to take the children inside while we contact their parents? I looked at Ella's face. I loved those kids. That was exactly what my family kept using against me. I will sit with them here, I said. I will not take them into my home as a caregiver. Mrs. Alvarez nodded once, not warmly, but firmly. Witness. Michael arrived first, angry before he reached the door. Karen came behind him, holding her phone like she expected sympathy to appear on it. Mom wore her soft cardigan, the one she used whenever she wanted to look harmless. Dad parked across the street and stayed in the car. Michael said, this is ridiculous. She's their aunt. Officer Daniels looked at the folder. Why were your children left outside without confirmation that an adult was home? Karen snapped. Because she agreed. I said, no. Where? Mom touched Karen's arm. Sophie, honey, this is not how family handles misunderstandings. My name on a fake caregiver form is not a misunderstanding. Michael pointed at me. You always make everything about paperwork. Officer Daniels said, paperwork matters when children are involved. Karen's face tightened, and then she gave me the second line that stayed with me. An empty house should be useful to somebody. My whole body went still. Not because it shocked me, but because it was finally honest. To them, my home was empty. My calendar was empty. My life was empty. So anything they poured into it became a favor. Mrs. Alvarez cleared her throat. My doorbell camera recorded the drop-off. Mom's face changed. That was the first crack. Officer Daniels asked who brought the children. Mom admitted she had walked them to the porch but said she thought I was inside. Mrs. Alvarez quietly said the video showed Mom trying the old key, realizing it failed, and telling the children to wait because I would have to open. Nobody had expected a neighbor. The officer documented the incident and told Michael and Karen to take the kids home. I hugged the children goodbye. Ella asked if she could still visit me. Yes, I said, when your parents ask first, and when I say yes. That word ask felt almost dangerous. After they left, Mrs. Alvarez sent me the video. On it, Mom stood at my porch with the red-tagged key. The lock rejected her. Karen's voice came from off-camera. Don't let her talk her way out of it again. Mom answered, she'll cave when she sees their faces. I watched that clip at my kitchen table with the yellow folder open beside my coffee. I wanted to cry, but anger kept drying everything up. By noon, my phone was full. Michael, you embarrassed us in front of a cop. Karen, I hope you enjoyed upsetting a pregnant woman. Mom, you have wounded this family deeply. Dad, call your mother. I did not call anyone. I called Melissa from work. She had been a school secretary before she joined our billing department, and she understood forms better than anyone I knew. When she saw the scan of the school card, she went quiet. Sophie, this isn't just babysitting. What is it? Residency support. See this line under your address? It says the children stay with you regularly, and this transportation section makes you the morning contact. My stomach turned. 2 weeks earlier, Karen had asked what school district my street belonged to. I had said I didn't know. She had laughed and said, Must be nice not having to think about that. Melissa told me to call the school district residency office and ask what existed with my name on it. So I did. Ms. Harlan answered after 2 transfers. I gave my name, address, and the police case number. When she came back from hold, her voice was careful. Ms. Morgan, we do have documents listing your home as a secondary household address for 3 students. I don't have students. I understand. There is also a transportation request naming you as pickup contact. I sat down. This was never only about one weekend. The weekend was a test. If I took the kids inside, the lie would have a real moment attached to it. Michael and Karen wanted my address. Mom wanted control. All of them wanted my silence. That evening, Mom came to my house without calling. I watched through the peephole as she stood on the porch with the red-tagged key in her palm. She knocked softly. I did not open. She texted, "I know you're home." I wrote back, "Anything you need to say can be written." Her reply came fast, "Do not drag the school into this." I read it twice. I had not told her I called the school. That was the second crack. The next morning, my supervisor asked if everything was okay because Karen had called my office asking to confirm my work from home days. She said she was family and needed to coordinate childcare. My face burned, but I asked my supervisor to email me exactly what Karen had requested. She did. Karen had asked if I was free Mondays and Fridays because the kids would be with Sophie anyway. I added it to the yellow folder. By Sunday, the lie had gone public. My parents' church held a baby brunch for Karen. I was not going to attend, but Melissa sent me a screenshot from the family group chat. Mom had written, "Please pray for Michael and Karen as they prepare for another blessing without dependable family support. Some people choose independence over love." Karen posted a photo of an empty rocking chair and wrote, "Praying for softened hearts." Aunt Linda commented, "Sophie should be ashamed." So I went. Not to shout. I went because the district office is behind the church, and my review appointment was the next morning. I wanted to see who had already convicted me. Mom hugged me at the door and whispered, "Smile, people are watching." I whispered back, "I know." She let go first. During the brunch, Mom tapped a spoon against a glass and thanked everyone for supporting young families. She praised Michael, she praised Karen, then she looked at me. Sometimes those without families of their own need reminding that love is not a hobby. Faces turned gently, which somehow made it worse. Karen added, "Yay, we just want our children surrounded by people who don't treat them like burdens." There is a quiet kind of public humiliation where nobody raises their voice, so you look dramatic if you admit it hurts. People nodded at a story they had never checked. Was I wrong for feeling hurt right there, with my mother turning a forged form into a prayer request? If you think I was not wrong, please give this a like so I know I am not the only woman who has ever been praised as useful and punished for saying no. And if you think I should have handled that room differently, tell me honestly, because I carried that question all the way home. I did not show the video. I walked to Aunt Linda and said, "Before you call me shameful again, ask Mom why she used a key that no longer opens my door." Aunt Linda blinked. "What key?" Mom moved fast. "Sophie is confused," she said. I looked at Karen, then Michael, then Mom. "Then the district review tomorrow should clear everything up." Karen's hand left her stomach. Michael said, "What review?" Mom looked at the floor. That was the crack everyone saw. The next morning, I sat in a district conference room with Miss Harlan, Officer Daniels, and Mr. Price from my townhouse association. Michael and Karen had been called in. Mom came too, holding a folder of birthday photos, like pictures of me smiling with children could prove I'd agreed to raise them. Ms. Harlan slid a packet across the table. There was a residency form saying the children stayed at my address 3 nights a week, a transportation schedule naming me as pickup adult, a family support statement saying I had offered stable childcare during Karen's pregnancy, and a lease addendum claiming Michael's family had temporary access to my townhouse. Mr. Price leaned forward. "This addendum did not come from our office." Ms. Harlan pointed to the bottom. "The notary stamp number is invalid." Mom said, "We were only trying to keep the children in a better school environment." The sentence slipped out too cleanly. The noble excuse had finally admitted the practical lie. I looked at Michael. "You were using my address." Karen's eyes filled. "Their school is overcrowded. Ella was getting picked on. Oliver needs smaller classes. We asked for help, and you made it impossible." "You never asked me," Michael snapped, "because you always say no." Now the words sat there like a confession. Ms. Harlan asked who completed the forms. Karen said Michael handled most of it. Michael said Mom helped because she was good with paperwork. Mom said she only tidied the packet. Blame moved around the table, but none of it left the room. Then Officer Daniels asked, "Who signed Sophie's name?" Nobody answered. Ms. Harlan turned her laptop slightly. The electronic submission came from an email linked to Karen Morgan. The scans were uploaded through the church office printer under Jessica Morgan's volunteer login. Mom closed her eyes. Karen whispered, "Jessica said Sophie would come around once the kids were already there." Michael muttered, "Don't," but it was done. They needed my home to look like a second household, my schedule to look like a transportation plan, and my love for the children to look like consent. Mom had pushed it because being the grandmother who solved everything mattered more to her than telling the truth. Michael went along because rules annoyed him. Karen went along because she thought my quiet life was an empty room waiting to be assigned. Ms. Harlan rejected the packet, flagged my address, and required written confirmation before my name could ever be used again. Mr. Price said the forged addendum would go to the association attorney. Officer Daniels updated the report. Michael turned on me. "Are you happy?" I looked at the fake signature, then at the red key tag peeking from Mom's purse. What I wanted was to be asked. The meeting ended with signatures. I signed one statement only, that I had not authorized use of my address, home, vehicle, schedule, signature, or emergency availability. My signature looked like mine because it was mine. Outside, Dad stood by the vending machines. Your mother thought she was helping, he said. No, I said. She thought she could spend my life without asking. He looked at the floor. That afternoon, Michael wrote in the family chat that I had weaponized paperwork against children. Karen wrote that I cost her kids a safe school. Mom sent a prayer emoji and said nothing else, so I replied once, I did not agree to provide childcare, transportation, residency, or access to my home. My name, address, and signature were used without permission. The school district has removed me from the file. I will not discuss the children, but I will correct false claims about my consent. Then I attached one cropped image, the fake signature, and the invalid addendum title. Nobody replied for 9 minutes. Aunt Linda messaged me privately. Did your mother do this? I wrote back, ask her. Silent revenge does not feel like the movies. Mostly, it feels like forwarding proof to the right office, washing your dishes, and letting other people panic without joining them. The fallout came in waves. The church paused Mom's volunteer access after the printer scan was traced to her login. The Townhouse Association changed my gate code and gave me new keys. Mr. Price said, only people you choose get copies now. I sealed the old red-tagged key in an envelope. At work, my supervisor blocked Karen's number from the front desk. Michael and Karen had to keep the kids in their original district, attend a transportation meeting, and pay for after-school care. Michael sold his fishing boat and blamed me in texts I did not answer. Karen apologized first, badly. I'm sorry if you felt pressured. I replied, that is not what happened. Hours later, she wrote, I am sorry we used your name and address. I was scared about 5 kids, and I let Jessica convince me you would cave. I read that in the grocery store bread aisle and leaned on my cart. It did not fix everything, but somebody had finally used the right verb, used. I wrote back, thank you for saying that. I love the kids. I am not available for childcare, transportation, school records, or emergency responsibility. Visits must be asked, planned, and confirmed. She replied, okay. Michael never apologized. He sent one photo of the children and wrote, they miss who you used to be. That one hurt. I sat on my stairs with my coat still on until the screen dimmed. Who I used to be was the woman who opened the door whenever someone knocked with guilt in their hand. The daughter who canceled plans because mom sighed. The aunt who thought children would feel abandoned if she made adults behave like adults. I did not reply. The final reveal happened at the church family council. Mom had complained that I was spreading lies about her volunteer work, so the pastor invited me to explain. I agreed only if the office manager, Aunt Linda, and Dad were there. Mom arrived with Dad and a framed photo of the grandchildren, which she set on the table like a shield. The pastor asked what I had said publicly. I said only that my name and address were used without permission. Mom's voice went soft. She is punishing me for loving my grandchildren. The office manager, Beth, opened a folder. Jessica, the printer record shows your volunteer login was used to scan the addendum. The file name was Sophie Support Final. Security footage shows you entering alone. Dad looked at Mom then. Really looked. Mom whispered, I was helping them. Aunt Linda said, you were helping them lie. That sentence did what mine never could. It came from someone my mother could not dismiss as selfish. Tears did not erase timestamps. A grandmother photo did not turn a forged signature into love. The pastor removed Mom from office volunteering and told her to apologize to the people she had involved. Mom nodded without looking at me. Outside, Dad stopped me on the church steps. I knew you said no, he said. I didn't know about the forms. You knew enough to stop the first part. He swallowed. I should have. It was not a full apology, but it was the first time he placed blame near himself instead of at my feet. I said, yes, you should have. A month later, Mom mailed me a letter because I had blocked her calls. Some of it still tried to explain, but one sentence made me sit down. I treated your quiet life like an available room. Then I wrote back, you may visit my home by invitation only. You may not have a key. You may not speak for my time, address, schedule, signature, or relationship with the children. If you want a relationship with me, it begins with asking. I mailed it before I could soften it. After that, life became quiet in a way that felt unnatural at first. No sudden drop-offs, no messages demanding my schedule, no family vote about my availability. Karen sent requests instead of assumptions. Sometimes I said yes, often I said no. Nothing broke either way. When I visited the kids, it was planned. Parks, birthdays, school plays, short afternoons with start times and end times. Ella once drew my townhouse with a big yellow sun over it. In the picture, the door had no red key. I asked why. She shrugged. Because people knock. I kept that drawing. The baby was born in spring. Karen invited me to meet her on a Saturday afternoon. I brought a blanket, held the baby, kissed the kids, and stood when my visit time was over. Karen looked like she wanted to ask me to stay. I saw the question form. I also saw her swallow it and say, thank you for coming. Michael stood in the hallway. So that's it? You're just a guest now? I adjusted my purse. No, I'm family. Guests don't have to recover from being used. He stepped back. Almost a year after the police call, I took the sealed envelope with the old red-tagged key to a hardware store. The man behind the counter asked if I needed a duplicate. No, I said. I need it cut so it can't open anything again.